September 27th, 2024, the day of the hurricane. This was something completely different than we'd ever expected. Today, I'll be taking you what it was like during the hurricane, the aftermath of the hurricane, and the recovery of the hurricane. Before I start, I want to say my prayers and thoughts go out to all the people who were severely affected by the hurricane. This isn't just my story. This is our story. Because we were mountain strong.
Hello, everybody. So Cade asked me to come out here and talk about the hurricane that happened about a year ago. So about a year ago, like I said, there was a hurricane that came over North Carolina. It destroyed so much in the town of Boone, North Carolina, and it was just very, very destructive.
For me, the biggest thing I remember was just how unexpected it was and how, unfortunately, how unprepared we were. Living in Boone is amazing, but we never have really had to prepare for many big storms like this. So it was incredibly unexpected for us, and the amount of destruction that it brought was unexpected. And so for that reason, we just unfortunately were not prepared.
I think during the hurricane, it was a very scary time. We, compared to some people, we lost, very nothing. So we were very blessed and stuff. But I do remember being in the time, when we were in the hurricane, I was scared. But I think the most scary part was the unknown of everything. And I don't think I realized how bad everything was until the day after.
And my name is Molly Jones, and when Cade asked me to share my thoughts surrounding the year anniversary of Hurricane Helene, I was really honored. I am a native to Watauga County, so I was born and raised here.
The biggest things I remember was the Wednesday before the hurricane. This was September 25th. And I remember we got back home from church that night, and it was raining pretty good. It wasn't a complete downpour, but it wasn't a drizzle. It was just a steady rain. And I remember laying in my bed that night. It was probably 10:30, 10:45. My phone was right next to my bedstand, and it just starts going bang, bang, bang. Just like the phone's going to chart. I look, and we're under a tornado warning. And my dad, he said, "Cade, Ward, boys, you guys go get Finn, which is our dog, and you put him down in the basement, and we'll move Ren to the basement as well. Ren is our cat." And so I remember me and my brother, we walk out there. Ward goes grab the leash, but I go out there and I just grabbed him by his collar and said, "Finn's gonna be okay, bud. We're gonna go." You could tell he was sensing something. His tail was in between his legs. He was all shivering and everything. I got him by the collar and opened this little kennel door. We walked out. I remember standing in our driveway, and it was just this crack of lightning. It was this crack of lightning, and I swear, it looked like mid-morning. It for probably 3 seconds, you stood there in shock, and you could see the entire sky lit up. You could see everything around you. It was, pitch black, raining, like pouring the rain. You could see everything around you. And Dad said, "All right, we're all going to sleep on the bottom level tonight in case something happens again. We got to go down to the basement," anything like that. And so I remember I slept on the ground that night in my little brother's bedroom because he's on the first floor, we're on the second floor. And I remember waking up the next morning and probably 7:30, and I hear, and I say, "There goes the power."
Things just fallen, like a power line is down. Just so many things went bad.
And probably from 7 a.m. to around 3:30, 4 o'clock, it was raining. Wind was crazy. Limbs were pouring limbs were dropping out the sky. It was insane, force of nature. And it was around probably 11:30 to probably 1 o'clock that it was like just all hell broke loose. It was a brutal force of nature. The winds, the creek.
We started like being able to see what actually happened and stuff. And I mean, it was crazy because I mean, I never have expected something that big to come to where I live. I mean, it never had happened before since I've been alive.
And I just remember like driving out the day after the hurricane happened, and just seeing so much like destruction in our home, like our hometown, was just so devastating.
I just remember feeling a tremendous sense of devastation and loss because this was the community I've grown up in. This is the community I'm raising my own children in now. And this is a very special place for me. And so when I saw such devastation that the hurricane brought, it was really sad to me. I didn't recognize some of the places that I'd grown up around my whole life.
Looking out the right window and seeing this elderly fellow looking into his shop and just shaking his head.
Another thing was you'd be driving down the road and you'd see half of a house or a tree on the road.
The community got hit hard. We got hit hard.
So many ponds and creeks had risen and flooded houses.
We had the bridge had almost washed out. We had limbs on the bridge. There was mud everywhere. And so I remember that next morning, my cousins, they had a little shed in their yard, and a giant red oak tree fell on it and took out an entire side of it. So we went there and we were cutting branches. You would have an axe, you'd have a chainsaw, you would cut down, you would drag branches. Their creek, the culvert had clogged up and the creek was running through their yard. I remember seeing fish swimming through my uncle's yard.
One thing that was just really cool was how God really brought the church together. Just so many different churches and organizations, and just honestly the whole community of Boone. He really brought us all together.
I think it was so cool through all the hurricane, like everything. God is able to use it for like His glory and stuff. And I think that is so cool how God uses the hard stuff and the tragedy for His glory, and how He just has. I mean, I think it just shows His perfect plan.
But through this, we were able to serve the Lord.
But in the midst of all that, one thing that was really neat to see was how our community came together. I saw a shirt that was commemorating the anniversary, and it said Watauga Strong on it. And I thought that is such an appropriate term because we really saw our community come together, help one another, find creative solutions to power outages or water outages. And we worked together to come out stronger, I think, than before.
And I remember a few days had happened during the hurricane, and my church decided to go help people.
And that Tuesday was when our church really stepped up and started like we got our gym where we play basketball, and for the next 2 weeks was supplies and food distribution. We would come there. We would unload trucks. I mean, we were there for 2 weeks straight. I mean, you would leave your house at about 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, and you'd be at the church till about 7:30, 8 o'clock at night.
And our church had a food bank where you could come in and you could just get whatever you need: diapers, food, everything you really needed.
Our church did a distribution site during the hurricane, and it was so cool seeing like all these people that had never been to church before or that had never heard the gospel or anything like that, and they were able to come to church and they were able to see Jesus' love and were able to hear the gospel if they've never heard it before or whatever. And I think it was really cool how like the church, like us as a church, were able to come together and to be the hands and feet of Jesus.
I remember Mount Vernon Baptist Church, which is where my family goes to church. Just a few days after the hurricane happened, we all kind of joined together and we made our gym into a resource center where people could come and donate things or come and get things that they needed. And so we had a lot of people that would come. We would provide meals for them. They could take any kind of food or supplies, clothing, whatever it was that they needed from our gym. And then we also were able to send out several different volunteers to go out to people's houses and help them rebuild or, just fix whatever damage they had in their homes.
So me and a small group of friends would go out to different houses and shovel mud out of people's houses, cut wood, and a bunch of different things.
We were in a group with with one of my friend's dads, Mr. Cam. It was me, Mr. Cam's son, Noah, me, and a guy named Will Harward. We would go out, and if there'd be a call, we'd go out there. We'd do anything from cutting down trees out of people's backyards to rebuilding a creek bank to we even shovel mud out of basements.
And it was all through the Lord.
And I think God did I know He did so many things during the hurricane.
Just remember thinking about it, like, there's so many people we're serving through the Lord with this.
Weeks after the hurricane, it's snowing. It's snowing up here, and App State was at home. We were like 4-5, like rough record. 9 games in the season, and James Madison comes to Boone, and App State wins 34-20, I believe was the final score. And just the whole fan just rushed the field after what this community went through. It was awesome for the first home game of App State after the hurricane to get a win. It was like 30 some odd days since a game played at Cade Brewer, and it was awesome what went on and what happened with Appalachian State. The App State football is such a uniting force up here in Boone and in Western North Carolina.
He provided so much. He showed just His love. He showed His plan. He showed His provision through all of it and stuff. And I think it was so cool during the hurricane to see that even with the hard times, even when it's not going good, that God still has His perfect plan, and that God uses these tragedies and these hard things for His glory.
And so while it was a really sad and devastating time, God was just so good in providing everything that we needed, just whether it was in really big ways or really small ways. He never stopped showing up, and so I think it's really cool to be able to look back at what happened a year ago and just see how much goodness came out of it and how God never stopped being good. So
one of the highlights, if there can be a highlight, but one of the things that I enjoyed most in service was serving through my church. We did a supply pickup center. So I would be there and I would be greeting people who had pretty much lost everything. And I had the opportunity to pray with them, to help them get physical needs met, things that they needed, and just see and hear their story and offer hope to them through the gospel of Jesus. And so that was a meaningful part of the recovery efforts for me. And then just seeing how our community, I mean, even to this day, we're still rebuilding, but how our community came together and we're stronger now than we were before it hit. So it's hard to believe it's been a year, and there's a lot to be grateful for as we look back, and there's a lot to remember. So I appreciate the opportunity to share these thoughts.
I think it really moved North Carolina because everybody was trying to help, and
there was, during the recovery of this, there was no politics, there was no Democrat, Republicans, there was no religious, no non-religious. It was just us together and bringing together for the greater good.
The Lord used it to make something good and to show that our church really wanted to help our town, and our nation. So I really think, even though it was hard, God turned it for something good.
It was a crazy experience through it all. It was a very crazy experience, but it showed unity. It showed unity in a community that was struggling, in a community that just needed help. It showed unity, and so that was by far my biggest takeaway of Hurricane Helene. And there were times where we were down. There was time where nature took over us, but we were mountain strong.